Knoll Nation. We have had a bit of technical difficulties today, but we are back. We're going to finish up your FSU postgame reaction for Florida State, Duke. Florida State gets the victory, and Florida State also gets some big news right after the game. Ethan Pritchard, 4-star linebacker, announces his decommitment right after the Florida State game. So a nice piece of news after LJ McCray goes down to Florida and decides he's going to be a Gator. Unfortunately, after flirting with Florida State all week and all the stuff on social media, he ends up going to Florida, kind of like everybody thought all along. We kind of had some hope there at the last second, but to get Ethan Pritchard to pop, as much as we've been wanting linebackers in this class, to add him along with Tamir Hickman Collins and the other linebacker we got, I'm drawing a blank right now, but yeah, definitely a big ad for this class to get a blue chip linebacker added. And again, let's go over this game. Because if you guys follow me on Twitter, you saw I was kind of active there in the first half, voicing my concerns. I had some big takeaways, some big kind of keys to the game that I thought were going to be really important in order to beat a super disciplined Duke team that just doesn't make mistakes. You're not going to be able to force balls. You're not going to be able to get away with beating yourself, stuff like that. I thought Jordan Travis was going to have to run the ball. I thought we needed to get the tight ends involved. I thought Jaheim Bell needed to have a big game, and they needed to stick with the run game, whether it was working or not. And we needed to get the run game going. Early on, it didn't look like that was going to happen. It just seemed like Jordan Travis was not going to run. And I get it. Hey, he is like the straw, like the stirs the drink. He's everything that makes this team go. So they want to be safe with him, especially coming off that injury. But when push comes to shove and when it comes down to it, when Florida State needs to play in the second half, he will run, and that's what we saw. They came out and they identified it. As always, they make the proper adjustments at half, and Florida State does what they need to take care of Duke in what's probably your toughest ACC game you have left. It's all downhill from here. Florida State has to go on the road to play Wake Forest, Pitt, and we get Miami at home, and then it's North Alabama and then the University of Florida, which is looking more and more like a tough game. Tennessee goes out and played hard against Alabama. They looked like they were going to win that one in the first half, but again, kind of like in the Florida State game, things fall apart for Tennessee late, but that's a pretty good win Florida has at home. It's the only really good win they have, but if you know anything about that rivalry, you know that it doesn't really matter what's going on with the teams. 99.99% of the time, that's going to be a tough game. So Miami and Florida, that's really what you look at. But these guys, you can't get complacent. They can't think they're going to roll their helmets out at Wake Forest or Pitt and get those wins, because we've seen what can happen. Miami goes and beats Clemson, guys. Let me know what you think about that. That's going to be fun to hear kind of the trash talk over the week. Miami has definitely surpassed my expectations of what they were going to do to this point, and they go out and get a big win over Clemson. So hats off to those guys, but I cannot wait for them to travel to Duke to be able to take them down on the peg with our number 4 team in the nation. Possibly could jump up. We'll see what happens with the rankings. I doubt it. Ohio State handles business against Penn State today. There's another undefeated team that goes down again, like we talked about earlier. North Carolina goes down. They're down to, I guess it's Florida State and maybe 5 or 6 teams left in the nation undefeated. You look around, you got Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, Florida State, Washington. That's about it. I'm not sure. There's a couple other maybe lower teams. Air Force is undefeated. But as far as the big teams, it's really, really, really whittled down. And Florida State, 7-0 for the first time since 2014. Couldn't be prouder of these guys to go out there. A guy like Rodney Hill to really just blow up in that second half. I'm not sure if Trey Benson, what was going on. They really, really spread out the carries between Rodney Hill and Keziah Holmes. That was pretty interesting. I'm not sure if Trey Benson's beat up or if they just kind of went with the hot hand as those guys were doing great, but it was really cool to see him iced the game, running the game. Rodney Hill late. That was really cool. It was also really cool seeing Destin Hill on the sideline celebrating with his teammates and really cheering for everybody, even though he was hurt, not able to play. Johnny Wilson, they showed a replay of Johnny Wilson when he went down, and it looked like he may have hurt his knee. Really kind of hyperextended that thing when he came down. But later to find out on the broadcast, Kirk Herbstreit mentioned that they think it was a head injury. So, you never want to see a guy get dinged or anything like that. But I don't think Johnny Wilson has a history with head injuries, and I don't think it's anything too serious. So that might be a good thing. It might be, a good thing that he didn't re-injure that leg or something that could be like a 6-month, serious injury that could affect his NFL draft stock or the rest of the season or anything like that. Hopefully, maybe if anything, we lose him for another game and he's back ready to play for Pitt or at very worst, the Miami game. One thing we got to talk about that I didn't get to on the first short clip there, officiating. It's something we talk about week in, week out. Jeff Flanagan, one of the most tenured ACC refs, heads up the crew. And guys, it was another stinker from the ACC refs. Wow. The second half, things evened out. The call started going against Duke. They had just some unbelievable tackle holding calls and some stuff that just could not get overlooked. Lucky they got called, and as the calls evened out, that was about the time you saw the game turn around. Of course, Leonard Riley comes out of the game, a huge moment in the game. Of course, I was kind of surprised that in that time, Elko could have really, bided his time and tried to come up with a play there to win. But him going for that fourth down instead of taking the field goal early, and then once we go up a score to try to go for that fourth down, like on his own 25 or 30 or whatever it was, and then immediately go down 2 or 3 scores. He kind of imploded there on him, but I'll take the win nonetheless. I'm happy for my guys. I'm happy for the Florida State Seminoles. You guys make sure, if you're watching this, if you're going out to support our Seminoles or going to check out any concerts or anything, check out the Ticket Smarter app. With promo codes BIG and Big20, you can save $10 off your orders of $100 or more, $20 off your order of $300 or more. And that's again with ticketsmarter.com. Go download the app. It's really, really 100% guaranteed. You don't have to worry about scammers or anything like that. Don't ever try to buy tickets on any of these chat groups and stuff you see. Use somebody like Ticket Smarter and use those promo codes BIG and Big20 to save either $10 or $20 on an order, whether it's a small order of $100 or a big order of $300 plus. Use that Ticket Smarter app and save in the name of the Noles and helping us move forward here at the Voice of College Football and keep these post-game reactions going. Mike Myrick joins the chat. What's up, George in chat? What's going on, my man, Mike? Thanks for joining us. Again, sorry about the technical difficulties, but what a night, man. Again, if you guys missed it, Ethan Pritchard, 4-star linebacker, has committed to the Noles after the big win. Florida State stays undefeated for the first time since 2014. They moved to 7-0. You take over sole lead in the ACC, the better conference, I'll say, this year anyways. But yeah, the ACC, it's all FSU now with North Carolina going down. Man, I did not see that coming today. Clemson goes down again. Now they've got 3 conference losses. North Carolina goes down out of nowhere, man. So that takes a lot of pressure off Florida State. I don't want to see us lose a game. God forbid anything happen, but man, we have that cushion now. If we were to drop a game, we'd still be right there for the ACC conference with all kind of tiebreakers and just a fantastic turnaround from a year ago. 2022 was a great year. You start off 4-0, but then you drop 3 games in a row. 3 games in a row. And it's like, oh man, here we go. You turn around and then you win 5 games in a row to end the year. But this year, here we, the difference is 7 games into the season, 7-0. The big difference between 4-3 and 7-0. What can you say about this team? One of the things we talk about every week is like, well, we still haven't seen that full fourth quarter performance. We still haven't seen that full fourth quarter performance. Well, we still haven't seen that full 4-quarter performance. But man, if we ever do see a full 4-quarter performance, I feel bad for whoever's on the other end of it. It's going to be tough. Because these Noles, they just have that championship mentality, and they go out there and they keep making plays. Whatever play needs to be made to win the game, that's the play they're going to make. Jordan Travis is just, he's completely unflappable. Like, I'm sitting here watching this game, just like losing my mind, hollering at the refs, wondering why Jordan's not running, wondering why this isn't happening, wondering why we're taking kicks out of the end zone. I didn't understand that, why all of a sudden we were taking these deep kicks out of the end zone. And then they kick one short and we take it to the house. So, yeah, I got kind of reminded about that whole couch quarterback thing. It's real easy to kind of nitpick from the house why Mike Norvell is doing this and doing that. But all these guys do is just keep going out there and winning. Going out there and winning, going out there and winning. Can't say enough about him. Tatum Bethune with another big game. When you talk about the defense, Renardo Green. I mean, here's a dude who keeps getting better and better and better, and he's really becoming a true number one cornerback. I thought he did a great job tonight. I haven't looked at the stats, but Duke really did not do much of anything on offense. It was kind of par for the course for them. Bunch of mistakes in the first half. That's the difference. Bunch of mistakes in the first half. Duke took advantage of them. They took advantage of that aggression, but then second half, that aggression pays off. Adam Fuller has got to be one of the best adjusting coordinators in the country. It's really unreal what he does, barring, outside of that Boston College game. Like, this defense, like, you're just not going to do anything against this defense in the second half. And I know everybody's going to say, of course you're saying that, but Leonard Riley went down. But I don't really care. I mean, the defense was going to be better against Leonard Riley, even if he was in the game. It may have been a little bit closer, but man, I mean, they just have the answers coming out at half each and every week. Yeah, and I agree, Mike. I love the aggression of the staff and the team. I love everything about this team, man. Except for the way they do my blood pressure sometimes, man. They make it tough on us fans sometimes, but you got to love it, man. You got to love seeing Florida State back at the top where they belong of college football. There's not many narratives to push anymore at this point. It is what it is. Florida State has 6 FBS wins, Power 5 wins, if you will, 5 wins in conference, 5-0 in the conference. Sole leaders of the ACC, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Again, Miami takes down Clemson. North Carolina falls to, and I'm drawing a blank who North Carolina falls to. North Carolina falls to somebody there. There's no reason they should have lost to them. How about Boston College going out and getting another win? Boston College moves to 4-3. Florida State is just beating, you had this Duke game. They were 5-1 coming in here. Now they're 5-2. You've got Duke, LSU, Clemson, all these winning ball clubs. So, you really can't say anything about Florida State's resume. It's up there right back to being that number one resume in the nation. Ohio State, Washington, and Florida State really are your 3. If you did your top 5 just on resumes alone, those 3 teams are far and away out in the lead. When it comes to what they've done, what they've actually done with the resume. Michigan, has been great. We talked about that a little bit earlier. You can't hammer them too hard. There's only so much they can do with their schedule, but at the same time, their schedule is what it is. They just have not been challenged thus to this point. They finally get another Big Ten game, and it's Michigan State, who is in like a historically terrible year. Look, Notre Dame takes care of USC last week. Watching Notre Dame and Duke play, I have a little bit more respect for Notre Dame. I gotta say, man, I'm on record just a couple of days ago and even earlier today talking about how I'm not too high on the Pac-12. But, when you really step back and, take all the bias out of it and you look at the interconference matchups, it really is kind of anybody could winner take all, situation here. It's really a sad thing we don't have the 14 playoff this year because not the 14, but the 12-team playoff this year, because it really would have been perfect to get to see a 14 playoff with kind of a 12-team playoff of what we have instead of the 14 playoff this year. Because, man, there's 8, 9 teams that I would just love to see play in that tournament style playoff, if you will. It would be really fun to see, but still with 4 teams, it's going to be a blast. And if Florida State wins out, they're going to be there. They will definitely be there as long as they win out. I know there's not a ton of you guys in here. We kind of had our schedule off, but if you guys have any questions, we're going to hang out for a little bit longer, talk some Florida State football. Again, Florida State takes down Duke 38-20 inside Doak Campbell. Had a ton of recruits in the stands. Again, Ethan Pritchard, 4-star linebacker, commits to the Noles after the win, which is huge. I haven't put it in the class calculator, but that should get us up close to about 280 points on the 247 composite. We should stay right there around 5th place and ready to make a move. Florida State ain't done. This is one that I don't know how many people are expecting this one to pop tonight, but you got to love it, man. Continue to build that linebacker core. Really, really big pickup. I've been hard on Randy Shannon. Randy Shannon has, a lot of people have gave Randy Shannon and Odell Haggins lately kind of flack for recruiting, and I'm glad to see Randy Shannon get his guy. And as Boganowski, I believe, committed a day or two ago, and people were kind of, some people were upset about that. Not sure exactly how hard we were pushing after him, if that was a loss or not. So to get Pritchard to turn around and commit right after that is a really nice plus. And another, key commit for the class puts us at 22 or 23 guys. And it seems like we're a really long way from signing day, but man, really with this early signing day, we're not too far. Only, a little over a month and a half away from National Signing Day. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think we'll make a run at that top spot, whether we get it or not. Is yet to be seen, but there's still a lot of guys out there we still have yet to see. And just because the guy committed somewhere else doesn't mean it's over with. LJ McCray commits to Florida. No telling he's going to, sign there though. So that's the big thing. We're going to keep committing some of these guys. Booker Pickett went to Miami. I know he's a defensive end that we were recruiting that some people were upset about, but at the same time, Mike Norvell does an amazing job of bringing the right guys to Florida State. He brings the guys to Florida State who are going to stay at Florida State, guys that fit the culture and guys that are just going to, really push this thing forward and help make the climb a reality. Whether you're a transfer, high school, it doesn't really matter, and if you get here and it, sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes a guy like Sam McCall gets here and it's just kind of obvious that, okay, well, he doesn't necessarily fit the culture, and and that's fine too if they want to get out here. And that's the glory of the one-time transfer, is that guys don't get stuck on teams. I think it helps helps teams avoid having cancers kind of really just cannonball seasons. It's so easy for these teams to leave. It's got to be tough after you burn that up, unfortunately. A guy, and you end up in the situation of a guy like Daryl Jackson not getting a waiver. But for the most part, guys find the way to where they need to be. And that's the biggest thing. You don't have guys wasting away on a second or third string team on, a better ranked team for whatever the case may be for 3 or 4 years and never see in the field. They're going to go to a Boston College and start. They're going to go to a Duke and start. You look at a guy like Al Blades from Miami, big time player for Duke. In years past that couldn't have happened. He would have had to sit out and everything else. He probably never even leaves Miami. But nowadays, it's a big part of college football. And Mike Norvell and the staff at Florida State have done better than anyone in the nation when it comes to managing your roster between high school and the portal. Now, I want better results out of high school. You want better results out of high school. Everybody wants it. But Mike Norvell's hands were tied his first 2 years. And you see the results he has now. You see what Tribe 2024 is setting up to be a top 5, top 10 class at worst. But what he was able to do in establishing Florida State as that premier transfer portal destination, and to be able to bring those guys and mix them into the culture, to see a guy like Deuce Spann all of a sudden, like he's a glue guy. He's a guy that you just love to see get that touchdown today. Special teams, it seems like every week, special teams or defense adds a touchdown or a big play to just really help this thing go on. Whenever Florida State needs some points, you saw it with Kalen Deloach against Clemson. You saw the kick return against Virginia Tech from Trey Benson. Now you see again another kick return against Duke. Florida State hadn't had a kick return. I don't even know how long. A lot of years, and we get 2 back to back. That is pretty cool. So again, props out to Deuce Spawn. I could have swore every Florida State person I've heard since Deuce Span got here, it was Span. But every national broadcast, they call him Spawn. So maybe I'm wrong, and maybe that's it. Maybe it is Spawn. So whatever. You can keep calling whatever you want to call him as long as he keeps scoring touchdowns. Check that out, man. Russian from St. Petersburg, Russia. Ingvar, man. Well, thanks for joining us, Ingvar. Go Noles, man, all day, every day, and tomorrow. Your Florida State Seminoles ranked number 4 in the country coming into this week. Pick up a win over a number 16 Duke team that, man, they really, really impress. I mean, that defense. I watched the tape. I knew they were good. I didn't realize how good they were in the line of scrimmages. They really, really impressed me in the line of scrimmages. Of course, having Riley Leonard in there was a big deal, and it kind of changed after that. But I don't think just him going out is the only thing. I think, and we've seen it in every game, we may not just come out and immediately dominate the line of scrimmages, but the way the rotations are on the offensive line and the defensive line, you end up in the fourth quarter with guys like Keandre Jones out there just manhandling and mashing guys, wearing down on the defensive line, and the same thing on the other end. All of a sudden, the running game starts working in the fourth quarter because the offensive line has been persistently leaning on you the entire game, leaning on you. Florida State, Mike Norvell continues to show why he's one of the best play callers in the nation. And again, Florida State 7-0. It's who'd have thought you'd ever been this happy over a win over Duke, man? I thought, I had some of those invasive thoughts there in the first half when it seemed like everything kept going wrong, kept turning it over on those fourth downs. 3 turnovers in the first half. For Leonard Riley to start the game, look as fluid as he did in the first half. For everything that went on, you turn it over 2 times, turnover on downs, and you throw a pick 6, all things considered, to have the game as close as it was going into half. I mean, just really impressive. Just a really impressive, gritty, tough win by this football team. It isn't the flashy win that myself and Spear Addicts and some other people predicted we were thinking it was going to be. It turned out being close to the score at the end, but, we can admit as Nole fans that the score isn't exactly, 38-20. This wasn't really a 38-20 ball game. It ended up being that we completely, we kind of made them quit there in the fourth quarter, but this was a really tight ball game for just about 3 quarters, and just a big one for these Noles. Big game for the Noles. Yeah, Ingvar, man, I loved it. I love the running game. I couldn't be happier. Toa Feely is a guy that slowly but surely, y'all have to let me know what y'all think. Is Toa Feely becoming the premier back for Florida State? Is he taking over that number 1 spot? Do we see him start to come out in the first series of these games and get the very first carry? Is he going to be that guy? I love Trey Benson. Trey Benson's a beast. He just had like 200 yards 2 games, so I'm not it may just be total overreaction, but Toa Feely, man, been really, really, really impressive. I've always talked about he has a spot in this offense, and, he's always going to get his 10, 15 touches regardless of whether he's, necessarily an in-between the tackles runner. But he has really, really stepped up with the loss of Trayshawn Ward. He has slowly but surely worked into that Trayshawn Ward role of, like, hitting these runs and getting exactly what they're blocked up for, and just being a super consistent guy. And more you're seeing that every week. And I couldn't be prouder of him, man. And then he hits those crazy body surfing touchdowns too, which is pretty cool, pretty unbelievable. But again, the sponsor here for the FSU Voice of College Football postgame show is ticketsmarter.com. Use them for all your concert, football game needs. Get your tickets through them. If you get a purchase of $100 or more, $10 off with the promo code BIG, that's BIG. And with the promo code BIG20, you spend $300 or more and get $20 back. So save your money using Ticketsmarter and the promo codes BIG and BIG20, ticketsmarter.com. Use them for all your concert ticket needs and stuff. They're 100% guaranteed safe. Go check those guys out again. Again, that's ticketsmarter.com. Again, guys, if you have any questions or comments or anything you want to talk about in the chat, throw them on there. We're going to keep going for a few more minutes. But again, Florida State comes away with the victory, baby. It's going to be interesting with what the narratives are going to be over the next couple weeks with Florida State playing Wake Forest and Pitt and then Miami. It's going to be so interesting, man. It's the parity throughout the nation and these 5 conference champions. I have a sneaking suspicion there's going to be somebody in these rooms. It always seems like no matter what, they find some way to drop FSU because, though they won a close game, or find a way to say the ACC is the lesser conference. And I just don't see it. I don't see any way how, even if a one-loss ACC champion, maybe I'm crazy, but I just think the ACC gets it just doesn't get the credit it deserves. That Duke team really, really blew me away today. I just couldn't be happier with the team and where we sit in the ACC to be 5-0 in conference play and 7-0 overall. This, 8 weeks into the season, after what we've went through the past 5 or 6 years, just couldn't be prouder of this team and how unflappable Jordan Travis is. And these guys are just even keel. They never get too high or too low. What can you say about them? They're just a family. I'm not sure if there's anything wrong with them. I think they just kind of went with the hot hand, but we'll see what happens. We'll see if he practices Monday when they get back after it or not. But yeah, I don't think there's anything major wrong with him. He may have got dinged up or something, but we'll pay attention to that, and we'll definitely let you know on Wednesday when we come talk to you guys on the weekly live stream. Make sure y'all join us for that. Spear Addicts, Big Game James Coleman, Mark Rogers, and myself at 6 p.m. Eastern Wednesday, and that's the FSU Voice of College Football live stream. Well, Florida State 7-0 for the first time since 2014. Wow, what a game. What a game. Norvell, as aggravating as these first halves of these games are, it feels like they've got to be, when they figure it out, when this team puts 4 quarters together, watch out. That's all I'm going to say. And we've got 5 games left to put it all together. The ceiling of this team, when Jordan Travis is running and not just telegraphing like that first half, when you know that he's just not going to run the ball, when he is going to run it, when it's scary what this team could do. So when it comes down to the ACC championship or the playoffs, God willing, we make it there. I think the ceiling of this team, I don't think there's anybody in the country you can put in front of Florida State that it couldn't blow out. Now, there's definitely plenty of teams you could put in front of Florida State and it could lose to. But when it comes to the absolute ceiling of Florida State and the floor, I don't think there's anybody that has a higher ceiling when it all gets put together. When you put together Jordan's legs, when you put together Keon Coleman, when you put together the running backs, the tight ends, when you put together who we have on defense, you can get out-coached, and it looked like they got out-coached in the first half of this game. But when everybody's firing on all cylinders and all things equal, we've got a chance, man. We talked about it before the season. ACC title game appearance, that was like kind of the goal set. But, as the season goes, standards, they change. The standard is the standard. You've heard Mike Norvell say that. He said that from the beginning, even when we were losing. He never made any excuses. But now that we're here, now that we're 7-0, it's fair. It's at this point in the season, if you're going to reset the expectations right now, when you look at Florida State, it's pretty much playoff or bust. And I fought that, and I fought that all year. But yeah, man, this team, if it doesn't make it to the playoffs, it's going to be disappointing for us as fans. I don't think it's going to hurt the program. I think they're going to be just fine and going to be playoff contenders year in, year after year out, moving forward with the 12-team playoff con. But yeah, if you fail to capitalize on it this year, I'd sure hate it for so many of the seniors and 5th and 6th year guys here at Florida State that are a part of this thing. But what else can we talk about here? Guys, get us some questions going in the chat. If you got anything you want to talk about before we get out of here, throw it up. Again, make sure you guys like, follow, subscribe the Voice of College Football channel, my channel at the Renegade Report. Make sure you join us on Wednesdays, like I said earlier, at 6 p.m. Eastern. Thank y'all for joining the post-game show, and we love you guys being here, and we want y'all to be a part of it. So throw your questions up. Again, Florida State gets a 4-star recruit. If you missed that, 4-star Ethan Pritchard is now added to the Florida State Seminole Tribe 24 class. That probably won't move us up. Obviously, Florida getting LJ McCray today, so probably not going to close close the gap there, but it should hopefully keep us right there in 5th place on the 247 rankings. And I think it's the same on 3. I'm not sure, but keep us right there in position. Thoughts on Armando Blunt? Thank you for bringing that up. Man, I have thought all along, his mom was a big part of his recruitment. I think she really likes FSU. I think she's a big fan of him coming here. He's flirted with FSU back and forth, but, commits to Miami not too long ago. I'm hearing it's looking like Florida State's going to flip him. I'm not going to put in a crystal ball or anything. I don't know what the timeline is or anything like that. But when you talk to all the insiders, most of the insiders I've talked to behind the scenes, it looks really, really, really good. I believe you saw Zach Blostein yesterday put in a crystal ball for LJ McCray. He ends up committing to Florida State. Committing to Florida, excuse me. Well, he also puts in a crystal ball for Armando Blunt to flip to Florida State, as well as, if I'm not mistaken, Gabby, the Miami beat writer, also put in a crystal ball for Armando Blunt to flip to Florida State. And in case you didn't know, he's actually looking at reclassifying to 2024. I don't know the current status on that, but if you could get him to flip from Miami and then reclassify to 2024, all of a sudden you add a 5-star defensive tackle after, thinking you had a chance with LJ McCray. Now, there's been this thing out here. I don't know if it's trolling or what. Hopefully it was, but some different people were saying, oh, well, we got a better one coming in Blunt. So we just, didn't, we weren't going to take McCray or whatever. That's hogwash. That's a pile of junk. That was a miss. That stinks. We wanted to get LJ McCray. Make no bones about it. LJ McCray was a take. He's somebody we really wanted. He would have been a giant get, and UF got a dog. Okay. But that said, yes, if we could get Armando Blunt in this class, yes, that takes all the sting out of that. And we can argue with UF over the next couple of years who's going to end up being the better player because he's a freak. Armando's a freak. And if you get him in this year, or even if he doesn't get reclassified, I've been on record saying that the 2025 Florida State defensive line haul is going to be crazy. So just watch. I promise you. Like a lot of times, and another thing people don't realize, these results on the field, as much as they help for this class, they really help for the next one. It always takes a year. Not with the transfer portal. The transfer portal, those results can help you immediately. And you saw it last year with the 10-3 season, showing the promise for this year. But this really great playoff type run that we're having this year, the real results, you will see those in 2025. And as opposed to this class being kind of thin on the defensive line, 2025 is loaded with defensive linemen and all kind of like the top 5 at their positions. Florida State has plenty of great relationships with 2025, and I would not doubt if you end up with 3, 4, 5 blue chip defensive linemen in one of those kind of classes where the guys come in and they're kind of the face of that defensive line for 3 or 4 years afterwards. So really happy again with the recruiting, and say what you will about Odell Hagens. I've been critical of the recruiting to a certain extent, not very much. I'm a big time believer in what we do in the portal, in the transfer portal we trust. But Randy Shannon gets Ethan Pritchard, so that's another guy for him. Happy to see him. And you're going to sacrifice a bit of recruiting for coaching and having the continuity that Florida State had and they kept to be able to compete for this year on the field. I do expect some changes, and I'm not going to say any specific coaches that changes, but there's a lot of guys on one-year contracts, a whole lot of guys. I'm not sure what Odell's coaching situation is. I don't know how much longer he wants to go, but Odell's fine with me. When you look at what he's done developing these guys, and the ramifications of him staying and getting all these guys to stay, like Joshua Farmer, the development he put there, getting a guy like Dennis Briggs to stay, Fabian Lovett to stay, come back for another year. These guys that have been there since Willie Taggart days or Mike's first year, it's really been amazing, and he's been a great steadying presence. So I'm just not going to give Odell a real hard time about it. Does it stink he didn't get LJ? It does. But if we can get Blunt and continue to just field these defensive lines that are, some of the best in the country, we're going to be just fine. And expect a little bit of youth injected to this coaching staff after this year. And we'll get more into that later on. Do you think Artavius Jones and Perlow flip soon? Also, thoughts on Keziah Holmes? I'm not sure if it's soon, but I've said all along, I think Artavius Jones eventually gets in this class. I think the staff really wants him, and they're working really hard on him. But I don't know about a timetable. I know they're making hay there, but we'll just have to play that one by ear. Perlow has went quiet. I think Perlow is one of these guys who really is locked into his high school football season, but he said that he would indeed commit wherever KJ Bolden went. KJ Bolden is still at Florida State. A lot of people still have their crystal balls in to UGA, so maybe Perlow waits to see what happens with his reclassification. If he doesn't reclassify, maybe he'll wait till after National Signing Day to commit. If he does reclassify, maybe he'll wait till KJ Bolden is 10 toes down, ready to send in his national letter of intent. I'm not sure. But, that's a guy that I have. I'm not sure if I put in a prediction, but I feel really, really, really good about Perlow. Ended up being either in this class or the next one. When, I don't know. And, we'll just have to see, and we'll play it by ear. Keziah Holmes. Going into the year, I thought Keziah Holmes was going to be Trey Benson of last year. I thought they were going to slowly but surely get him more and more carries and grow and grow and grow and grow as the season went on, and end up possibly fighting for that number one spot by the end of the year. It didn't happen right off the bat. It took some time. He only had 6 carries coming into this game, and I think he blew that total away. I think he got like 8 touches in this game. I absolutely love Keziah Holmes. I think he has a ton of upside and could possibly be your number one back next year, or maybe him and Rodney Hill being that 1A, 1-2B, 1A, 1B. We'll see how it works out. But, I'm a big, big fan of Keziah Holmes, and I was kind of, I made kind of like a smart ass remark when Norvell mentioned how great he's been when he's got in on games. I'm like, well, get him touches then. If he's been so great when he gets touches, give him some more touches. He only got 6. So they lived up to what, Norvell said about him playing good, and they got him plenty of touches. Him and Jaheim Bell. That's another one. People have been talking smack, but Jaheim Bell hasn't been 100% healthy. You saw him limping around a little bit tonight, but they really, really used him. And also Kyle Morlock and Marcus Douglas. The tight ends were another big, big part of it. The one thing that was missing earlier was a quarterback run game. And as soon as they added to that, as soon as they added Jordan Travis running the ball, that was it. It was over for Duke. And there was really nothing they could do to stop us, especially without the threat of Riley Leonard on the other side. Again, not to beat a dead horse, but that's what happened. But again, thank you guys so much for joining us. Make sure y'all go subscribe. Help me get to 500 subscribers at the Renegade Report, and then head on to 1,000. We're hoping to get to 1,000 before the season's over. Check my show out on Mondays and Thursdays, 7 p.m. Eastern, the Renegade Rundown. Make sure right here on the Voice of College Football, y'all check out on Wednesdays, me, Spear Addicts, James Coleman, Mark Rogers, of course, do the weekly FSU live stream at 6 p.m. Eastern. 6 p.m. Eastern time. And also check out ticketsmarter.com. I know you guys buy tickets to go to these games. I know y'all support the Noles. I know y'all like to check out a good concert. Use ticketsmarter.com. Your purchases of $100 or more, you can save $10 with promo code BIG. Your orders of $300 or more, promo code BIG20, and you can save $20. It looks like my dog has come to visit me here in the studio as we get ready to wrap this one up. Okay. Let's say hey to everybody. Hey, Lucy. But again, Florida State goes to number 7 wins in a row for the first time since 2014. Ethan Pritchard, 4-star linebacker, commits to the Noles. 5 more games, guys. 5 more games, and then we take it to the ACC championship, handle business, and we might get to see Florida State in the playoffs again for the first time since 2014. We've already moved to 7-0 for the first time since 2014. Couldn't be prouder of my guys. Couldn't be prouder of Noel Nation for how loud it was in Doak Campbell tonight, and to see what James Coleman was able to do. For the young man and seeing them get to be featured on ESPN. That was super, super cool. Just all around, just great feels in Florida State. Love seeing the Seminole Indian leader. I don't want to screw up his name, but it's something Osceola Jr. To see somebody that shares the name of Osceola be able to run out there and plant that spear at the middle or before the game, that gave me chill bumps too. So that was really cool. Yeah, Lucy is the best girl there ever was. Yeah, she just wanted to say hi to you guys. I think she's mad at me. I hadn't introduced her yet. Which defensive end and defensive tackle has a bright future that people don't know of? That's a great question. Daniel Lyons is a guy that your hardcore people know about, but don't talk a ton about. So I would say Daniel Lyons is one that probably next year will be, one of your top 3 or 4 guys and really, really make an impact on this team going forward. And defensive end, that's a very good question. Defensive end that people do not know about. Of course, we've got Jaden Jones that came in, who's, I think the sky's the limit for him. He just has the knee injury he's working back of. So look out for Jaden Jones. But I got to have a better defensive end for you. Really, I mean, you get to see so many of these guys. Byron Turner Jr., we've seen a lot of him this year, but I think people don't really realize the high level of talent with a guy like him. Again, along with Joshua Farmer and Daniel Lyons, he's a guy that could really, really be a star and start getting NFL draft expectations next year. But yeah, Florida State 7-0, ACC champs coming soon. We'll see you guys soon. For me and Lucy, we will see you guys next time. Go Noles, tell them. Oh. Go Noles, baby.